Hi everyone, this is Miss Janasek, one of the wonderful Algebra 1 teachers here at Churchill High School. This is our first digital lesson for the school year, lesson 1.1, expressions versus equations. First thing we're going to do is look at our learning target for today, which is that we can identify and simplify expressions and equations. Okay, so we need to identify what they are and then be able to simplify them. Today, we're going to start out by focusing how can we identify expressions and equations and what's the difference between the two. So can we do the following? Compare expressions and equations. Can we combine like terms? And then in the next video, we will focus on distribution or how to distribute. So let's go ahead and write down our definition of an expression. An expression is one or more terms grouped together by mathematical operations without an equal sign. So as you're writing these notes down, I would circle the without part. Okay? So as an example of this, 2x minus 3 is an expression, or 5x squared plus 4 minus 8z. Notice neither of those two have equal signs. Therefore, it is an expression. So an equal sign. So here we have two expressions that are set equal to each other with, of course, an equal sign. Okay. So we do need to know what an expression is so that we know what an equation is. And once again, you may want to circle with, because it's with an equal sign as opposed to an expression without. So if I have an expression, 2x minus 3, and I put an equal sign and put another expression, x plus 5, then that is an equation, an expression equal to another expression. Okay? In a little bit, we'll learn how to solve these, but for now, we just need to be able to identify what an equation is. It has an equal sign as opposed to an expression that does not. So another example of an equation would be 5x squared equals 100. Okay, we have an expression on the left, an expression on the right, and an equal sign in the middle. It is an equation. A few more vocabulary terms to note that we can look at on here. So remember what we just said, since it has an equal sign, the entire thing would be considered an equation. Now within equations and expressions, we have letters. That you didn't have these in 8th grade a whole lot, but you did a little bit. So let's talk about what those letters are. So like this M, for instance, right here. The name for that is called a variable. Hopefully you are labeling this with me. You can use highlighters or circle or box or underline, whatever you need to do. Now, if you ever have a number directly in front of that variable, like the 7 that's in front of that M, that is called a coefficient. Now, we talked about terms earlier, how an expression has, or an equation has one or more terms. So what exactly is a term? Terms are separated by plus and minus signs. So for instance, 5x squared is a term. Minus 9x is also a term. Plus 36 is also a term. 7m is a term, and 82 is a term. Okay, so keep that in mind. The whole thing is called a term. All right, so the last thing we're going to look at in this video is how to combine like terms. The next video will be on the distributive property. We are not there yet. I'm going to make it a little bit bigger for us so that we can see the definition and the steps. To combine like terms, think about like. What does like mean? Things that are alike that we can combine. Okay, so what we're going to do is we are going to either color with a highlight or a colored pencil, or you could draw shapes for like terms. Now, while we're coloring or drawing shapes around the terms that are alike, we want to make sure to include there, that kind of like a D, C-L-U-D. Terms to include the sign in front of the term. So as an example, on the example at the bottom, if I was putting a box around 3x, and I need to put a box around any other x's. And so I have a negative 7x. We want to include that minus that's in front of the 7x when we box it. That's what that means. Include the sign that is directly in front of that term. Next, we'll pull all like terms in a group. So we're going to group together those like terms. So all the x's, all the y's, all the z's, all the regular numbers that we see. And the last step is to simplify and rewrite the new expression or equation, because you can combine like terms in either expressions or equations. And think about for a second what this one is. It has an equal sign. So you're right, it is an equation. So let's go ahead and combine our like terms. So we have 3x and we have a negative 7x. So 3x, you can say plus negative 7x, or you can just say 3x minus 7x. Keep in mind, since we're subtracting a bigger number from a smaller number, it is going to be negative. Okay? Now let's look at y's. We have negative 4y plus 8y. Negative 4 plus 8 is 4. And don't forget the y after it. Okay, so next up, maybe I might use highlighting this time. So I've got a 2z minus 9z. Remember, you're including the sign that is in front of it. So 2z minus 9z is negative 7. Oopsies. Negative 7z. Okay, and last but definitely not least is that we also have I'm going to use triangles this time, a positive 2 plus a positive 6. They are both just regular numbers. We add them like we normally would. 2 plus 6 is 8. Now keep in mind, since it is an equal sign here, guys, that equal sign does have to go in the middle. And notice that the x's and y's are on the right. So we have negative 4x after we combined them. And we have a positive 4y right here. So that means we're going to put a plus. Keep in mind, we can't actually combine the negative 4x and the 4y because one is an x and one is a y. They are not alike. On the right side, we have z's. So negative 7z is what we got when we combined it. And a positive 8, so plus 8. This is its most simplified because we have one of each variable. So that is combining like terms. You can do this for expressions or equations. And that is the end of this lesson 1.1. See you next time.